Hi, and welcome to another episode of My Take. My name is Taiwo, and over the past couple of episodes, I've talked about who God is from my understanding of the scripture and my experience of walking with God or being led by God, and who you are or who I am. And today I want to bring this full circle by having a conversation with a good friend of mine who's a physician by profession. And so we'll sort of talk through our experiences, our journeys, and arrive at the point where we truly where we clarify who God is for us and who we are in Christ. So join me as I welcome my good friend, Dr. Femi Adenuga. Yay! Okay, Femi, would you mind introducing yourself to our audience today? You're welcome.
Thanks. Thank you, Taiwo. So my name is Dr. Babafemi Adenuga, and I am an associate professor of family medicine. Worked at Howard University for well over 22 years. I actually went to University of Ife, now known or formerly known as University of Ife, now known as Babafemi Adenuga University, where we met, and where obviously we became friends and up until now. Following that, I did my housemanship at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital in Lagos, and then went to the United States and did my residency in family medicine at Howard University Hospital and stayed on as faculty following that. I had a practice within Howard as an academician. I was required to see patients. And also I became the program director for family medicine, for the family medicine residency training program, which basically my role was to train future family physicians. And I also was chair of the family medicine department at Howard for a number of years before I then took a different turn in terms of profession. But anyway, so in a nutshell, that's me.
Right. So if I understand this, not only were you an associate professor, you also had a practice, and so you were almost enjoying the best of both worlds, where you were an employee, you were self-employed, and at your disposal were the greatest and the best technologies that the world has to offer. You're training world-class students that will go out and as it were, compete in the marketplace with the best of the best, so to speak. Now, what struck me about you and why I thought you and I would have this conversation is because I know you were based in Maryland, and all of a sudden you announced to me that you were back in Nigeria, and you were working for I guess maybe as an advisor to a government official of a specific state. And in my mind, well, barring our recent fiscal political experience in the U.S. has a stable democracy. Everything works in the West. Everything is dependable. To leave that and go to what is a somewhat unstable environment, I'm sort of curious to understand why you made that decision to leave Howard and all of the benefits and all that offered you, and to go back to this slightly unstable type of scenario. pray tell me what was what walk me through that experience. Why
Right.
did you?
So that's a good question because it's interesting because I get asked that question a lot. I remember when working in Ogun State, one of my colleagues came up to me who had a stint in the US. I guess she went to school there and all. And she came up to me and she said, Femi, what are you doing here? And I said, I don't know what you mean. And she goes, I Googled you.
Yeah.
And, what I saw about you and your profile, I just thought, why would you come here?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I think in life, life for me, the way I look at life, I think that in my journey through life, fulfillment is very important to me. And I think that, success for me is not necessarily determined by wealth. Right. And when I say wealth, in terms of monetary value, but more by fulfillment, fulfillment of purpose. Right. And you can also look at that fulfillment of purpose from two different angles. Right. You can look at fulfillment of purpose from a spiritual standpoint, and then fulfillment of purpose from, what your life goals are and, achieving those goals. But again, that's a discussion because that's not the question that you asked. But I mean, the whole journey basically, I mentioned fulfillment just simply because, for me, that's really that's how more of like my thought process and how I reflect over, my choices in terms of, so it's based on that reflection and it comes from a fulfillment focus. Many, many years ago, when I first moved to the US, I'll tell you that, I had always had plans to go back to Nigeria. I'd always kind of thought in my mind that, Nigeria I'm only here temporarily. In fact, for the first few years, I didn't buy any winter clothes. I would always just, I was more or less like in denial that, I'm not going to be here. Right. But then, I got married, started having children and all, and I started working. So different ballgame. But I think deep down in me, I still kept thinking I really would welcome an opportunity to be able to move back to Nigeria. So the opportunity came years back when a group of friends and I started doing medical missions in Nigeria. We started in 2003. And what we would do is 4 of us got together with 4 of us doctors. Then there were 2 other folks with us who were more, they were non-physicians, but more like administrators. And, we would go to Nigeria on medical missions. The medical mission started off first in the eastern part of Nigeria, where we would just provide free services to the people. And then it kind of evolved to the point where we formed a foundation and then we started to partner with the state governments in Nigeria and conduct those medical missions to a point where the group grew to a 50-member healthcare personnel group, that would actually come to Nigeria, provide free services. And I'm talking surgeries, orthopedic surgeries, general surgeries, gynecological surgeries. In fact, at some point, we even had members of the US military that physicians that actually came to Nigeria with us, on those medical missions. So, we did them twice a year. We were very diligent. We did it twice a year. And we basically went around quite a number of states. Northern states, we went to southern states and eastern states as well. So, and with that experience, obviously that brought me back home and that brought me closer to home. In fact, some of the physicians in our group ended up opening practices in Nigeria. So, and which they still run up until now. And, with that sort of had kind of glued my mind to, I really would welcome an opportunity to come back to Nigeria. But then, even though, for me, the way I looked at it also, if you look at things generally, you'd see that in the medical profession, it's very different from things like banking or even telecoms, those sectors. You found people basically hired from the US and from the UK, and they would move back to Nigeria essentially. So they had sort of like what we call soft landing to be able to move to Nigeria. But with the medical profession, it's somewhat different. You know, you don't really find places that would pay high net worth physicians. I mean, not that I'm saying I'm in high net worth, but you won't find where they will pay specialists, you know, at a rate that is commensurate to what is paid in the US, you know. So it's very, very hard because, you know, the healthcare system, very, very fragmented, and it's not well structured and all. So it's very different, you know, from those other sectors. So again, you know, except if you as a physician, you want to try and set up your practice and do all of that. So it's quite difficult. So again, just in terms of those opportunities, they were not there, you know, for me. But I then now along the line met the former governor of Ogun State, Senator Ibikunle Amosun. And in my meeting with him, he basically found it fit for me to serve as a special advisor to him on health during his second tenure in the second tenure that he had in Ogun State. So, you know, the rest was history from that point on. I basically heard my name as one of those that had been listed as a special advisor. And I just decided, you know, this is an opportunity for me. If I don't make use of this opportunity, I don't know if any other opportunity will come up. I mean, I'm a man of faith. I strongly believe that, you know, if wherever God wants me to be, he would lead me there, essentially. So I discussed with my wife at the time, because again, I knew I couldn't do it without her, and bless her heart. I mean, she also realized, you know, that this man that I'm married to, Nigeria is very important to him, you know, and in terms of his fulfillment, you know, Nigeria obviously falls in that sense of purpose, you know. So she, I mean, she's an accountant, and you know, accountants, you're an accountant, they're basically very structured people. So, you know, you speaking about structured versus unstructured, they're very structured people to the extent that she couldn't understand. She wanted to know, okay, what's the job going to be about? What's the job description? What's the pay going to be like? What's going to happen to us whilst we're here in the US? How, you know, all of those things. She wants to have all of those things. And, you know, her life had been very structured because, again, you know, we'd been in the US. So, but then she also realized that she had to, you know, let this man be, essentially. So, you know, we discussed it, and, you know, she said she would hold forth whilst I go. And the rest is history. So I moved back to Nigeria, and I've been here since then. It's been well over it's about 5 years now. Yeah. So, because I came in the announcement came end of 2015, and I came then. Yeah. So it's been well over 5 years. I have absolutely no regrets that I'm here. I will tell you that. A lot of people, like I said, ask me that, how have you been able to survive? I think for me, what I tried to just do was zero out my expectations. You know, again, I felt that, you know, if I built my, if I basically built, or if I basically had high expectations of how things would go, if I don't see those things work out that way, I will be very disappointed. And I think that, you know, we just generally, I think it's important that, you know, we all guard our emotions. We guard, you know, just our thought processes and all that, because otherwise, you know, what we find is that a lot of problems that we have, stressors and all of that, it's all because, you know, again, our emotions get affected in different ways based on expectations and stuff like that, you know. So for me, I just had to make sure that I stayed focused, and I had that calming spirit, you know, so that when things happened, I mean, obviously there were a lot of things that I definitely wasn't used to. I mean, I hadn't actually worked mainstream Nigeria. I left right after housemanship, and, you know, and in fact, along the line, I had to do youth service in my old age. So you can imagine, you know, again, talking about expectations and how you zero out your expectations, you know. So, and, you know, for me, it's worked out. I mean, you know, I'm certainly poorer than I was when I was in the US. But that's also relative. But anyway, let's go.
So, and that's so now I'm glad you brought that. I wanted to ask the question that there's no way we're going to compare your earning capacity in the US currently and future. Because physicians in the US are literally above anywhere else in the world.
Correct.
And I'm thinking this guy gave that up to go to another place where even the contract you may have signed, there was no guarantee. Anything can happen in a heartbeat.
True, very true.
And so I want to ask you the question. It almost seems like you're talking about you're settled in your heart where your fulfillment or your assignment or your purpose would come from. And the geography didn't matter. And the financial rewards didn't matter. It was, you felt like you were doing what you wanted to do, what you were meant to be doing, or Nigeria had a special meaning for you, and money was irrelevant. The instability was not a focus. And I can imagine your wife being an accountant, how she would have processed this in her mind. I don't think she wants to have a husband 4,000 miles away, and having to sort of resign to that and agree with that. I'm sort of curious. Walk me through what was happening. Was this a conviction for you? It seems like you've said so, but I need you to sort of clarify that for me. Was it a conviction, or what was it exactly?
So for me, I still think that it's a journey in progress, if I may use that phrase, And the reason why I say that is because, it's not like missionary work. It's not like I came to Nigeria to come. It's not, and I don't want to get it confused at all. So it's absolutely not missionary work. Right. And don't get me wrong, money is important. Money is important to me. It's not that it's not. I just feel that this is a different journey that I have to take that obviously could help me. I remember I used to tell myself when I was much younger that when I'm 30, I'm going to get married. When I'm 30, I'm going to build my first house. When I'm 30, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to, and all of those things. And yes, I still have those desires that, yes, I want to be very wealthy to the point whereby, whatever I need, I want to be able to provide for my kids. I want to be able to, I don't want to have to beg for bread, if you may put it that way. Yeah. If I want to do something, I want to be able to feel confident that if I spend this amount in my account, I don't have to worry that, we might not have something to eat tomorrow, that sort of thing. So definitely it's still a journey for me. I'm still, obviously trying to check those boxes and all of that, Right. But, for me, I felt that, this journey was a journey that it didn't really matter to me as far as that I had to have that full clarity as far as where or how I would, or where I need to get to when I get there.
Right.
I had plans, but I also knew that those plans may not necessarily work out the way plans work out when you plan in a developed and a structured environment, Correct. Even with that, there's still a bit of uncertainty in there, but the difference is that, yes, you may have a job that you're guaranteed a salary, right, and you're guaranteed, that, and you're told that this is your job description, this is what you have to do and all of that. And right, here it's a bit different. But here also, it's also a place where there are several opportunities, there are several untapped opportunities as well. And to me, the way I look at it is that, the gap, there's still a lot, there's a wide gap. And there's a reason why even developed countries have interest in Africa. There's a reason why the Chinese are coming to Africa, right, on in thousands, because there's a reason why that is happening, because there is some potential that they see that is untapped. There's an untapped market. Even in the healthcare industry, in the healthcare sector, it's still an untapped market, and it's just a matter of being innovative enough to determine how that market can be tapped into, So, and I just felt that But for me also, being that I'm Nigerian and being that I just saw that, that there were some, or the in terms of the fulfillment that I mentioned, I felt that, that my services would actually be valued a lot more here.
Okay.
And not to say that it's not valued in America, but I think that there's a different fulfillment in that process. So, for example, I mean, I being a physician in America, I had a lot of Nigerians that were coming to my practice that were actually seeking my help in different ways. People coming from Nigeria, within America, and all of that, But for me, there was a different sense of fulfillment, or there is a different sense of fulfillment in providing services for my fellow Nigerians, even in Nigeria, outside of here. And that's why you find me a lot of times that, when people call me for, whether it's for help or for direction or what have you, I mean, it's so hard for me not to jump right into it, because that's who I am. That's part of how I just feel that, you know what, if I can help this person, why not? And once I get into it, there's no stopping, So, and that's why sometimes, sometimes I'm like, how did I get here? Sometimes I think to myself, how did I actually get here? I wasn't supposed to be involved in all of this, but, I just feel like, if there are resources that I'm aware of and all of that, why can't I share? Why can't I share those resources, So again, back to what you actually asked. I think so for me, there, even if I'm to use this analogy and think about my career path, even in the US, I went into academia and started, and the realization for me to go into academia came, well, first of all, my father was a professor on campus.
I remember.
Absolutely I had no interest in academia at all. In fact, my classmates would tell you in school that they probably would have thought that I would have gone straight into the business line.
Right.
I should say this, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm still very interested in business ventures and all that. And I get involved in so many things, real estate, fashion, different things, So, but, for me, being a serial entrepreneur, the way my mindsets had been all along was that even when I was in school, I sold shoes, imported stuff, things like that,
Wow.
different things. Okay. I would have a shop, I would do all of those things. And at some point, I had a store even in the US. I had a store in my basement. I sold suits and different things. Those were things that were of interest to me. So, but the thing is, when I decided to go into academia, I had written my boards after I completed my residency program. And, in writing those boards, those exams, I realized that, there were certain things that I felt that if we were taught during residency in a particular way, that it would have been much easier for me to prepare for those exams. So that just lit up in my head. And, I went straight, in fact, when I finished residency, I was one of, there were 6 of us in my class. I was probably the only person who didn't have a job by the time we completed residency, because it wasn't clear to me what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure, should I go and do a master's in public health? Should I go and start practicing? But once I wrote the exams, which was right after we completed residency, I just decided, you know what? I should actually go into teaching, because I'm sure I can help people to realize what they need to prepare for their body. Right. And that was really what it was. So I walked into the chief medical director for Howard University Hospital, who was also a family physician. I just walked into his office and I said to him, and at the time he was the acting program director for our residency program. I just walked into his office and said to him that, Dr. Gator, I want to come and teach here. I think I can do this, and that, in fact, that was exactly how I got the job. Because he just said to me, that would be fantastic, blah, blah. And next thing, I saw that I was working at Howard. So again, for me, and whilst I was teaching at Howard, first of all, if you're familiar with the salary structure in the US, especially in terms of medical practice, you find out that academia probably pays the least for folks. So when you do the comparative analysis, when they get paid less than folks who go into private practice or who go and work for other institutions or what have you, other, what's it called now? Other healthcare organizations, I should say. So academia falls in the lower cadre as far as, what physicians get paid.
Right.
So really, I had already, started off along that trajectory. And my residents, when they complete residency and start working and earning so much, I had quite a number of them that would call me and tell me, Dr. Adenuga, I can't believe that you earned the amount that you earned. Do you know how much we're making? We're making 4 times your salary. You need to come here. But I kept saying to them that, first of all, somebody has to do this job. That's one. And two, if money was the most important thing to me, I would not be here doing this. You follow? So there were so many other things that were important to me. For example, I wanted to live in the East Coast. I wanted somewhere sort of close enough to Nigeria, even though that's probably more of a mentality thing. I just had that in my mental picture that I need to be closer to Nigeria. London was probably the closest to Nigeria in terms of being outside of Nigeria, right. In the developed world. But I knew I couldn't be in London. So for me in the US, is either you lived in Maryland or New York or what have you, where you could just get on the plane and be in Nigeria, and that's again how my thought process goes. So,
okay. So let me now ask, as you're talking to me, I'm getting a sense of someone who is driven more by, I want to say this carefully, purpose rather than conveniences or luxuries of life. So let me ask you, who is Femi Adenuga? Yeah. Who is Femi Adenuga?
Well, I joke about this. I joke a lot about this. And I don't know, maybe there's some reality that I joke about it. And I say, sometimes I look at myself and just ask myself that, who am I? Who am I? I like folks to call me Babafemi, for example. I like to address officially. Well, I shouldn't say I like folks, but I like to be addressed officially as if I'm being introduced, Dr. Babafemi Adenuga, if you know what I mean, as opposed to Dr. Femi Adenuga, because I just feel like Babafemi just has more, you know what I mean? So sometimes I ask myself that, okay, is this Babafemi or is it Femi that is talking today? Or is this, so when you ask that question, who is, you have to ask that, are you asking about who is Babafemi Adenuga or who is Femi Adenuga?
Okay, so point noted, who is Babafemi? Okay, so who is Babafemi Adenuga? Who are you?
Well, first I'll tell you that and that was a joke before, but I'll tell you on a more serious note. First, Babafemi Adenuga is the child of God. I will tell you that. I'm a child of God, and I believe that I'm a royal priesthood, a heir to His throne. I also believe that I'm a blessed individual. My life actually reflects the life of an individual who is highly favored, and who really, and when I say highly favored based on the divine grace of God. And I say this very humbly and very, very carefully because, I just see so many measures and so many, and a lot of evidence of God's presence, just different things that have happened, to me, some that are quantifiable, some that are not, some that are evident, some that are not. And I just basically just feel that, I mean, who am I to even be able to tap into just those riches of God's glory, So, and I say that simply because I feel like I probably don't even do enough to actually, show that, yes, indeed, my life is one that has God's grace fully on it, So and I say that simply because sometimes I just feel like I'm not even deserving of a lot of things that I see that happen to me. But and it's not about that I have $1 million in my account or that any of that. It's just beyond that, because I just feel that there's just so much favor. There's just so much favor in everything, in things that I want to do that I get done, in even in my family and all of that. So I humbly just say that for me, that's who I am. That's who I am. I am a child of God, and no more, no less. Yes, I'm a doctor. God has ordained me such. Even sometimes when I talk to people and I share just my personal convictions and all of that, they ask me first, that am I a pastor? And I have treated even pastors who are quote unquote viewed as very spiritual and men of strong faith, and I've seen them faced with life challenges as it relates to health, and I'm thinking to myself that lowly me, I'm the one now basically counseling them, and almost letting them even realize that you know what, the grace of God is certainly beyond any of what you can even fathom at all. You know what I'm saying? So and I find myself do that. I mean, I remember there was a patient of mine who, these folks are top members of the Redeemed Church of God in Nigeria, right? And when I saw them as a patient, in fact, the man's wife said to me that, we need to make you the head of our household, essentially. I mean, she said it as a joke, and the husband kept saying that over and over, because the kind of problems that I found myself helping them resolve, even within the family unit. I just felt it wasn't me. That's God that was doing those kind of things, So, it's beyond that. I mean, it's just beyond me just being a doctor, My late mom said something before she passed away, and she said, that she believed that God made me study medicine so that I could take care of her in her last days of her life. And I think that just blew my mind. That totally blew my mind, because again, she was saying that just in terms of her gratitude and all of that, towards the end of her life. She passed away from cancer, and this was going through the final stage of it, that she just said, I just thank God that, because it seemed like, God made my son study medicine so that he could just take care of me, my last days. So that's who I am. I mean, I feel like I'm just that being that God just uses many. So
I'm sorry, I can't quote the scripture now, but it says, the life that I live, I've been purchased, and so now it is God who lives in you, and the life that you live is now, as it were.
Right, exactly. That is God, that paraphrased. That is God that
I walk through you, so to
walks
speak.
through me. Exactly. Yes.
And so it's like,
not me.
Right. So I believe what God does is we are emptied of our old self, and we become an empty vessel that He then fills and uses us. Even the Bible says in, I believe it's Philippians, that it is God who is at work in us both to will and to do of His good pleasure. And so when I ask you the question, who are you? You literally just said it, not quoting the scripture, but your life exemplifies the fact that you're not defined by your, is it MBBS?
MCH, in America we call it MD, but
Yeah.
it's MCHB.
Okay. I know in America it's MD. Yes. So you're not defined. You don't say, oh, hi, my name is Femi. I'm
MD.
a physician. Right.
Yes.
Like, oh, I'm Femi. My name is a but I'm a physician. That's not who you are. You're
Yes.
defining yourself firstly as a child of God. Being a physician is actually just as it were an accompaniment or a skill you gather so you can express the real you. And
Yes.
and I'm glad you used the example of the folks who are clergy that you are working with, and even they are being blessed, or they look beyond themselves and they see you as a blessing to them, that you are there. I say this. Somebody preached this thing once at a funeral, and it struck a chord with me that you and I are spiritual beings having human experiences. We're not human beings having spiritual experiences, but the inverse is the truth. We are spiritual beings having human experience. That is what you are. That is what I am. So,
Yes.
first of all, we are, Psalm 82 says, I say you are gods with a small g. So, in effect, when people see you, they are meeting with God with a small g, so to speak.
Reflection.
Yeah, you're a reflection of God. And so, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So let me ask you the next question. How would you define God? Who is God to you? Let me ask you that question. Who is God to you?
Yeah, so that's simple, but it's also deep.
Yeah.
You know, it's simple because I can just say God is my father,
Yes.
and he's my father. He's he's that spirit that we cannot feel or touch,
Right.
but or we cannot see or touch, I should say, but we feel always, because again, if you have the presence of God upon your life,
Right. Right.
I can assure you that you would feel his
Correct.
presence.
You will know it. You will know it. I guess it's right now. You will know it. Yes. You will
You would
know.
know it.
Yeah.
I'm sort of envious of people who tell me that, oh, I heard God speak to me, and I'm sort of envious of that, because I'm like, God, why can't I just hear? I desire that. I want to hear it and all of that. But you see, I think that a lot of times what we're just waiting for is just that physical, oh, my son, this is what I need. Forgetting that, even in our conscience,
Right.
he's speaking to us on a regular basis. It's just
Right.
for us to now discern that, this is what God wants me to do, or this is what I want to do.
Right.
Sometimes we even overlap it and just say, oh, it's God that wants me to do it that way. But really, I think deep down inside us, we know, at least that's me. So, for me, I think that for the mere fact that anytime that again, over time, I've come to learn that it's not only when I'm in trouble that I remember to run to God, because again, that's a general thing. But I think one is more conscious of that fact. And I think for me, the fact that I run to him when I feel troubled, not necessarily when I feel troubled, the fact that I run to him, to me, also defines the importance of God to me. And it tells me again that, this is who God is to me. That because I'm not now relying on that, oh, this is what I need to do or what have you. My first instinct is that, in fact, sometimes when things happen and I don't pray, I pinch myself afterwards that how could I have done that without even thinking that that's what I should have done first? you follow?
Yeah.
And likewise, even when things happen that are good, I say to myself that I get reminded that did I actually go on my knees first to thank God that this happened? No matter how small it is. And to me, those are little things that even reflect, because sometimes, we kind of wait on the big things, and,
Right.
when we
Right.
other people speak and all that, we're just like, oh, our own experience is not like this, blah, blah, blah. But we
Right.
forget that our experience, it's so interest. Let me give you another example. So, you go out to a function, right? And you have the pastor preaching, and they now ask that they want to pray for some people. And then they say, all the men of God in the house, please come out. And I know it's a is it, should I call it just a figure of speech that they use to
Yeah.
that the pastors in here
Correct.
come out. And I know that that's what they're referring to, that the
Right.
pastors in the house should come out. But typically they say, and I don't know, maybe you say it as well, since you're a pastor, but typically they say, let's say, I'll put you on the spot. But typically pastors tend to say, oh, the men of God in the house should come out and pray for this couple. And I'm saying to myself that, how dare them say men of God? I'm a man of God too. I might not be an ordained pastor, but I'm a man of God. You follow? I'm a man of God. So yes, I may not go out, but immediately I'm praying where I'm sitting down, and I'm praying for that person right there, because I just said to myself that, how dare them say just the men of God? I know the people who think that they are also men of God, who are the pastors. No disrespect, they now come out, and I'm like, no. Wait, I'm convinced in my mind that I am a child, and a man of God is a child of God.
Right.
We are all children of God, as long as you have accepted Him as your Lord and Savior.
Correct.
And that's who I am, and that's who He is to me.
Correct.
He's my Father. Is my, I'm a benefactor of His existence.
Right. Just sort of the way I will phrase, the way I'll look at it, or in my mind, at the core of it, for all that God is, as He is omniscient, He's omnipotent,
Omnipresent.
and He's omnipresent. All of those things. He is holy. His ways are past finding out. He's all of these magnificent things. But guess what? He's my dad. I have the right to call him my dad. I know him as my dad, not theoretically, experientially. I know my dad.
Taiwo, one thing that I would say also,
Yeah.
that just makes me even, and I think now than ever before, when there's an issue and I just pray to God,
Right.
I have this calming thing that just comes over me.
Right.
That I've already prayed. I've already prayed. I've already spoken to Him.
Right.
He will take care of it.
Correct.
He will take care of it. And that reassurance, again,
Right.
sometimes, yes, things may not always work the way you expect.
Right.
Yeah, that you want to most of the time. But the point is that the fact that I have spoken to Him about it,
right,
already. So, so it's like God, like you just rightly said, it's like that father, you just have that free access.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked that question, and I did some episode about who God is because I realized that many people don't see God as their father. At the core of it, even in the Old Testament, they never saw God as their father. When Jesus came and Jesus said God is his father, they thought he was being blasphemous. That was the mindset. And the truth is, many of us, the funny example that I've heard in the past is that no matter how much respect people have for the Queen of England, and they see her outside, when William was a baby and he went to grandma's house, he looked at her as grandma and jumped on her bed and jumped on her. He couldn't care less whether she was the Queen of England. All he saw was his grandmother, and he jumped on her. So for all that God is, I understand he's my father. It is not arrogance, it is not pride, but it makes me go to him um, without, I know I'm imperfect, but I have no hang-ups because I'm going to see my dad.
Right, certainly.
My father loves me. His love for me is unconditional. That love is an amazing access to him. And I talk to him and he responds to me. So he's my dad. He's very holy and he's powerful, yes, but he's my father. And I think at the core of it, I'm glad you said this, and even in the way and manner you said about people talking about men of God coming out, while the example may almost, you have to take a minute to think through and get it, that you have a right where you're seated. That's what do you mean, man of God? I'm I'm a man of God too. I don't need the title to tell me that. The title, in fact, being a pastor or a prophet, all of those things are just, you're like a teacher who was called to help me as God's son to fulfill my ministry or my calling or to do my assignment. So I am, in fact, I'm the real man of God. You are the real man of God at the core of it. So I mean, it sounds funny, but we are all men of God. You know, I want to say this. Your life for me is sort of you're living out the word without, they say preach the gospel, and if you must, use words. So preach the gospel, and then only if you must, then use words. You're doing it without using words, but I admire what you've done or what you're doing. So if I can say I'm proud of you, I am. And the reason why I wanted to do this with you was because as I was doing those topics and I was recording them, I was thinking in my mind that, okay, here's someone, but none of us are perfect, but here's someone who's living out these things. I understand that he will have had to give up. You talk about the academic thing, how you made up your mind to go teach, knowing that there was so much more out there for you, but because you had the burden for the way these courses were being taught and how it will have been difficult for people to pass those exams, and you cared enough for them, then you gave yourself to go do this and sacrifice your own potential earning capacity, so to speak. And here's your wife and children who could just be living in a mansion somewhere in Maryland, enjoying. Oh, I have a friend who I do her taxes, and when I see her W-2s, the zeros make me dizzy. Because I'm thinking, is this for real? I know. she's a physician, and I know what she does. I'm thinking, are these numbers real? But they are real. So I know all of that is out there, and there you are, having to go live with a friend or with another friend when there's a comfort, or where you can be comfortable in a home of your own, in perhaps $1 million home somewhere, with a nice swimming pool in the backyard, all of the modern conveniences and all that. But here you are in and I'm sorry to use the phrase, a third world country, out of love.
Right.
And I'm so proud of you, my brother. And more power to you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let me thank you for coming on this episode of My Take, and being transparent and talking about yourself. I know some people don't want their business out there, but I'm glad you agreed to do this. And let me say thank you very much. Thank you for agreeing to do this. And this is really a good place to say we have come to the end of this episode. And folks, if you like what you've heard, please tune in, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification button so you can get alerted to the next videos when they come out. And if you have any questions for myself or for Dr. Babafemi Adenuga about the journey, then shoot me an email in the email listed below. Otherwise, till next time, this is my take. Dr. Femi Adenuga, I feel the gate. Dr. Babafemi Adenuga, thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You're someone I've always been very proud of. I mean, right from Ife, you know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm very happy that we've reconnected after several years.
Don't let that go to my head.
Don't worry, it's swollen already. Can't get bigger.
Thank you very much, bro. I love you. I don't mean that. I really, really, really do appreciate you and your time. And regards to your family, bro. God bless you.
You
Folks,
as well.
this is my take. Till next time, have a great week. God bless you. Thank you, Femi. Take care of yourself, brother. Take care of yourself.